Last week, does everyone remember there was a big oath that was sworn? So maybe there will be peace, maybe the war will end. Paris and Menelaus tried to fight in single combat to see who would win Helen and all of her stuff.
Yeah.
And then the gods were thinking about starting some shit. Welcome to week 5. Athena, she came down like a star right in between the two armies. And every single one of the bronze-clad Achaeans and the horse-breaking Trojans that saw her were amazed. And any one of those Achaeans or the Trojans would say to the guy next to him, "Did you see that?" Now either horrific war and the dreadful battle cry are going to start up again, or maybe Zeus will throw friendship down on both sides because he is the master of war. He's the one that starts war for humankind. That's what someone would say to the guy next to him. And then Athena, well, she got dressed up like a Trojan. She dressed actually just like Laodicus. It's the son of Antenor. Laodicus, the powerful spearman, and dressed like this. She went all around the crowd of the Trojans. She was looking to see if she could find God like Pandarus, if she could find him. Hey! And then she found him. And so dressed like this, she addressed him in winged words. Hey, Pandarus, why don't you listen to me? You know what I think you should do? You should dare to shoot a fast arrow right there at Menelaus. And then you would win kudos.
Kudos!
And so many thanks from all the Trojans, especially from King Alexander. He especially would bring you all of the shining gifts when he saw warlike Menelaus, the son of Atreus, beaten down by your sharp arrow, thrown on the funeral pyre. So come on, shoot him. But first, remember to pray to Apollo, the Lycian lord. Apollo, the good famous archer. You have to promise him a hecatomb. You have to kill 100 firstborn lambs as soon as you get home. The holies delay. That's what she said. And she convinced gods in his thoughtless mind. And right away, Pandarus, he got out his bow. I'm going to tell you about this bow. It is made from horn, the horn of a goat, the horn of a wild bounding goat that Pandarus shot in the chest while Pandarus was crouching down and the goat was jumping off a rock, and then he hit it right in the sternum so that it fell backwards on the rock like some noise that a goat makes. And the horns on that goat's head were 16 palms wide. And Pandarus, well, he fashioned them together, he joined them together, he polished them carefully, and he put gold tips on each curved end. Now he took the bow, and he fixed it in at the end. And he opened up his quiver, and he got out a single arrow, an arrow that had never been shot. It had feathers all around it. And all of his trusty companions, they got their shields out all around him just in case one of the Achaeans tried to get him before he was able to get his shot off at warlike Menelaus. Now he put the arrow, the bitter arrow, on the string, and he prayed to Apollo, Lycian lord, famous archer, and said, "I'm going to cut all of those little sheepies' throats as soon as I get back to Holy Stelea." And now he took the notched end of the string and the arrow, and he pulled his right hand all the way back to his chest so that the iron arrowhead hit the bow. And then he stretched it even further so that the whole bow was like a perfect circle. And then the bow twanged, and the string, it screamed. And the arrow, it went winging, raging towards the crowd. But don't worry, Menelaus. The blessed immortal gods have not forgotten about you. No. The daughter of Zeus, the pirate Athena. She came down and she stood right in front of that arrow. Ah! And she defended you from it. She brushed it away just like a mother brushes away a fly from her child's cheek as he lies in sweet sleep. But it still hits you. I'm going to show you how it hits. Athena makes it so that it hits right here. Okay? There's a golden fastener here, and what this golden fastener fastens is, bear with me now, a zoster. You know that word, a zoster. It's some kind of war belt. What's a war belt? But it's attached here, and there's a breastplate on top of that. That's the thorax, right? So it goes through this fastener, and then through the intricate zoster, and then through the thorax, and then underneath all of that, there's actually a miter. You remember this? Miter.
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 That was made to go against his skin to protect him from arrows. And most of the time it did, but right now the arrow went through that too. So that the very tippy top of the arrow pierced his skin, and a black cloud of blood flowed out of the wound. Now let me tell you about this blood. It's like when there's a woman. Maybe she's Myonian. Maybe she's Carian. And she has a beautiful piece of ivory, and she's going to make it into a cheek piece for a horse, because of course horses need beautiful cheek pieces. And she dyes that ivory with the most beautiful red dye. It's the most expensive thing ever. And it just goes up, this cheek piece, into a treasury. Every horseman wants it. Every horse even wants it, right? But no, it just remains as something that's a kudos.
Kudos!
For horse and horseman alike, a treasure for a king. That's how, Menelaus, the blood now flowed down your shapely thighs, and over your shins, and all around your lovely ankles. And Agamemnon, when he saw that black blood from the wound, he shuddered. And Menelaus, when he saw it, he shuddered too, but then he was relieved because he saw that there was the string that actually attached the arrowhead to the shaft of the arrow. He could see that, and he could see the barbs of the arrow too. So right away the heart just jumped back into his chest. But Agamemnon, he groaned. Oh! And he took his dear brother by his hand, and the whole crowd of companions, they groaned too. Oh! And he said, Menelaus, oh no! What did I swear to when I swore this oath that I would have you fight out in front of all the Achaeans against the Trojans by yourself? Did I swear to your death? Oh! No. Our oaths are not going to be in vain. Not the blood of the lambs. Not the unmixed wine. Not the right hands that we trusted in. No. Because the Olympian, it might not be today, but the Olympian Zeus, he is going to get revenge on the Trojans, on their heads, and their wives' heads, and their children's heads. I know this. I know it in my heart, and I know it in my mind. Yeah. That Zeus who lives high up, the son of Kronos. Well, one day, holy Ilion is going to be destroyed. And Priam, and all of Priam's people with their good ash spears. Because then Zeus, he's going to come and he's going to shake his horrible aegis all over you. Aegis is something that you wear, but when Zeus wears it, it kills you. Anger over these broken oaths. It is gonna happen. But you, Menelaus, I mean, if you die here, and this is how you fulfill your whole life, then great grief for me. I have to go back to thirsty Argos. Like, I'm just the greatest insult ever. And all the other Achaeans, they're going to remember their own dear fatherlands. And then what are we going to do? We're just going to leave Argive Helen here as something to brag about for the Trojans and for Priam? And your bones will rot here in Troy. And all our work will be left unfinished. And then some Trojan guy, he's just going to jump all over the tomb of famous Menelaus. And he's going to be like, ooh, Agamemnon. You know what? I hope all of your anger ends just like this. That you bring all this army of the Achaeans here in vain. And then you leave in your empty ships and you leave good Menelaus here. That's what some Trojan's gonna say. But I hope the earth swallows me first. And blonde Menelaus tried to encourage his brother. Hey, buck up. Buck up. Don't scare all the Achaeans. Look, it's just a flesh wound. Okay, sure. It went through the war belt, the zoster, and then it went through the zoma, which was another thing that has a bunch of layers under it. And then it went through the miter. That the bronze craftsman made. It's fine. And Lord Agamemnon, he said, oh, Menelaus, I would love it if you were right. But I really think that we should get a doctor to look at that. I mean, he can bring some good drugs to stop those black pains. And right away, powerful Agamemnon called for the shining herald Talthybius. Talthybius! Yeah, you! Go get Macon! The doctor Macon, come on! The son of Asclepius! He's gotta come look at warlike Menelaus! Some guy shot him with a sharp arrow! I don't know, some Trojan or some Lycian, some good archer, come on, it was glory to him, but grief to us, go! And Talthybius, the herald, okay, he's going all over the wide army, he's looking for Macon. Son of Asclepius? Okay, so powerful Agamemnon, he says that you have to come with me right now because someone shot warlike Menelaus. It was with a sharp arrow. I don't know who, maybe it was a Trojan, maybe it was a Lycian. It was a good archer. It was glory to him, grief to us. And he stirred the hearts in Macon, and so the two of them, well, they went all through the wide army of the Achaeans till they got right to the spot where Menelaus had been wounded. And all the best men were around him in a big circle, and Menelaus stood right in the middle. He was a man like a god. And then Macon, he came to have a look at Menelaus. Oh, let's get you up there. Okay. First, he took the arrow out of the zoster. And then he cut away the little barbs. And then he actually took off the zoster, that war belt. And then he took off the many layers of the zoma. And then the miter. That was made by bronze craftsmen. And now he could get a good look at the wound that the bitter arrow had made. You know what he did next? He sucked out the blood. And then he put those good drugs on there, just sprinkled them on the wound. They were the drugs that Chiron the centaur had given his father Asclepius. Sprinkle, sprinkle, sprinkle. So, all of these guys were busy around Menelaus. Menelaus, who had a great war cry. Yeah. But meanwhile, the Trojans, the strong, spear-bearing men of the Trojans, they were on the move. They had their shields, and they were advancing. They had already armed. They had remembered their battle lust. And then, well, you wouldn't find Agamemnon snoozing either. Nope, he was getting ready for war. He wasn't holding back. First, he found his good sidekick, Eurymedon. Eurymedon, who was the son of Ptolemaeus. You know, he's the son of Piraeus. Yeah, okay, but Eurymedon. And he got Eurymedon to hold back his chariots and his horses. The horses were panting, so he had to really hold them back and told them to wait here, try to keep them calm, because he's going to need those horses later, because Agamemnon is going to wear out his own knees, going all through the army, marshaling the men. And now Agamemnon went on foot through the ranks of men. And whenever he would find some Achaeans, some Danaans who are with their fast-footed horses, then he would say, "Hey, Argives! That's right. Keep remembering your furious courage. We know that Zeus, he does not help liars. And we know what's going to happen to the Trojans, those who first broke their oaths. The vultures are going to feast on their delicate skin. And we will take their wives and their innocent children in our ships when we sack their city." Yeah! But then when he would find some men who weren't getting ready, who were just kind of hanging out, not fighting, then he would turn to them with insults. And he would be like, "Argives! Some kind of insult word we don't know how to translate. You know what you're like? You are like fawns. You know how fawns are? When they're like running through the plain and they're like, and then all of a sudden they're like, that's how you are! Amazed, bewildered, just frozen. What are you waiting for? Are you going to wait for the Trojans to come all the way down to the beach, all the way next to your good, proud ships? Is that how long you're going to wait until you see if Zeus is willing to protect you with his hands? Come on! That's what he would say. And then he would move on. Then he found Idomeneus. Now Idomeneus was surrounded by the Cretans who were already arming. Brilliant Idomeneus. And Idomeneus, he was running through his front lines with the courage of a wild boar. And Meriones, he was getting the rear guard together. And seeing this, Agamemnon was so happy in his spirit, and he said to him, "Idomeneus, I have always honored you above all other Danaans with their fast horses. You know, in war, in work, and in the feast. When we all have a feast, all of the Argive chiefs, and they come and they mix their wine, and each man takes out his own fair share, but not you and me. No, we like our cups full. We like to drink whatever we want." Yeah. So now, I just want you to keep being as awesome in war as you have always boasted to be. Boom! And then Idomeneus, the leader of the Cretans, answered him and said, "Son of Atreus, you know that I am your trusty companion, now and always, just like when I first promised to you and nodded my head. But come on, why don't you give your orders to other Achaeans? Because we need to start fighting as soon as possible. The Trojans have broken their oaths." You know what it is. It's death and trouble for those who are the first to violate oaths. That's what he said. And the Lord of Men, Agamemnon, was happy, and he went on to others. Then he found the Ajaxes. The two Ajaxes. And they were already putting on their helmets, and all around them there was a cloud of infantry. What kind of cloud? I'm glad you asked. So, you know, sometimes when there's a goat herd and he has a lookout point way up on the mountain, he's goat herding, and he looks out all the way across the sea, and there's a huge cloud there that's gathering over the ocean, and it's being pushed by the west wind, and now it has kind of a hurricane strength force as it moves across the sea towards him, and right away he like gets his little flocks and he runs into a cave. That's the kind of cloud. The cloud that was blue-black of phalanxes, close-packed phalanxes of young, strapping men going into destructive battle, brandishing their shields and their spears all around the Ajaxes. And Agamemnon, the Lord of Men, he was so happy in his heart when he saw them. He was just like, Ajaxes! I don't even have to urge you on. I don't have to give you orders. You guys just keep giving the orders you're given. You know, if I had every single one of my men that had a heart like yours, by Zeus, by Apollo, by Pallas Athena, the city of Iliad would have already fallen. Priam's city. We would have sacked it and ransacked it. That's what he said. And he was happy. And he moved on. Then he found Nestor, the clear orator from the Pylians. Who makes up for signs with his amazing honey-sweet words. Now Nestor, he was with Megapelazgos.
Whoa.
Alastar, Chromios, Bias, shepherd of the people, and Haimon, powerful Haimon. Now Nestor, he was doing what he does best. He was putting everything in order. So first he put all of the chariots in the front with the charioteers and the chariot drivers, and then all along the rear guard he created a wide army of infantry, a wall of war of many and excellent foot soldiers. And then in the middle he threw the cowards. Because then they would have to fight. And he gave the orders first to those who were the chariot drivers and charioteers to tell them not to drive the horses into confusion. Now don't let any of you trust too much in your own manliness and horse driving skills, and then go far out among all of the Achaeans, past them to fight with the Trojans on your own. That's no good. Now also, don't any one of you hold back. That's also weaker. But what you should do is if you come into a counter with another chariot, then stab him with your outstretched spear. That's how men used to sack cities. That's how we used to sack cities and walls. Because we had this knowledge in our hearts and in our minds. That's what the old man said, because, you know, he knew the war ways from way back. And Agamemnon was so happy and just said to him, "Oh, old man, I wish that your knees were as strong as your spirit. But, you know, old age has worn you out a bit. I wish it had happened to another man. And I wish that you were still among the young. And the Granian horseman Nestor said to Agamemnon, yeah, son of Atreus, I sometimes wish that I was now as I was then when I killed mighty Eurythalion. I was badass. But you know, the gods do not give us all the same things at once. So if I was a young man then, I'm an old man now. It's okay. Now I run with the horsemen and I give my orders and my counsels with my words. These are the gifts of old men. Let the spear fighting go to the spear fighters, men who are younger than me, men who trust more in their physical strength. That's what he said. And Agamemnon was happy and moved on. Now he saw Menestheus, the son of Petius. Oh. And around him were the Achaeans, the counselors of war. And it was Odysseus, hey! The genius standing next to him. And all the ranks of the Cephallenians around, they weren't weak. And now they were just standing around. They were just standing around because they hadn't heard the battle cry. I mean, okay, it was just now that the Trojans and the Achaeans and their ranks were just starting to clash, the horse-breaking Trojans and the Achaeans. But they were just standing here, waiting to see if maybe some other column of the Achaeans would go and fight the Trojans first. And so seeing them, Agamemnon told them off, addressing them with winged words. Son of Petius, brilliant horse-striking Petius, and you, with all your dirty tricks, greatest scoundrel of all men. What are you doing? Why are you holding back like this? Waiting around? Not fighting? You two should be among the first in the front lines to throw yourself into fiery battle. You know when you are first? When I invite you to my house for dinner. Then you show up right away. When all the other Argive kings make you a feast and you're like, I love roasted meats. And I want all the cups of honeyed wine. Yeah? And now you just love watching 10 other columns of the Achaeans go out in front of you to fight the Trojans? Come on! And Odysseus, well, he just looked at Agamemnon from under his brow, scowling at him. Son of Atreus, what kind of word has escaped the wall of your teeth? How are you going to say that I'm holding back from the front lines of the Achaeans when they're going out to fight the Trojans? You want to see, if you want to see me, the father of Telemachus, and how I mix it up in the Trojan front lines, you will. You windbag. That's what he said. And Agamemnon actually smiled when he saw how much he pissed Odysseus off. And he was like, okay, I'm going to try to make things right. So he calls him over. Odysseus, son of Laertes, you with so many resources, God sprung. I don't want to insult you too much. I don't even want to give you orders. I know that you've got so many good plans in your heart, in your mind. I mean, you and me, we are on the same page. So come on, if I said anything wrong before, let's just have the gods blow it away on the winds. He was happy in his heart and he moved on. Then he found the son of Tydeus, Diomedes, spirited Diomedes. He was standing all around the close-set chariots, the close-set chariots and horses, and next to him stood Sthenelus, the son of famous Capaneus. And now he turned to them with insults, addressing them with winged words. Son of Tydeus, what are you doing here? Tydeus, son of Tydeus, what are you doing here? You just gonna watch the other columns go by? You know who didn't love holding back from battle? Your dad, Tydeus. You know what he loved? He loved going way out in front of everybody to fight. That's what they say anyway, the people who actually saw him at work. I never saw him myself, but they say he was the best. Okay, well there was this one time that he came to Mycenae. All right, it wasn't during wartime, but there was Tydeus. Okay, so here's Tydeus, and he came to Mycenae, and he's trying to collect people, famous allies, because he wants to fight against holy Thebes. So he's collecting all the people, yeah, and they're all approving and down with his proposal, but then at the last minute, Zeus shows them bad signs and changes their mind. So Tydeus just has to keep on rolling, and him and Polynices, they move on, and they come to this really grassy, deep meadow that's all around the river Asopus. Yeah, you know. And that's where the Achaeans decide that Tydeus should be an ambassador to the Cadmeans. Hi, Cadmeans! And he found the Cadmeans. They were all at dinner at Eteocles' house. Do you remember Eteocles, Polynices' brother? These are 7 against these people, you know, the dads before the Iliad. And they're just all sitting there, and Tydeus, he's alone. He's a guest. He's not scared. Is he scared? He's not scared. He challenged each and every one of them to athletic contests. And he beats all of them. But then they get kind of pissed off because he beat them all. And so they decide that they're going to send 50 young men to ambush Tydeus when he leaves and goes back home. And they're going to be 2 godlike men who are their leaders. First it's Maon, the son of Haemon, and then Polyphontes. He is the son of Autophonus. So these 50 men were waiting on the road, and they met their fate in Tydeus. Tydeus killed all of them! Oh, but not him. No. Except for Maon. Maon made it home alive because Zeus showed him some signs and Tydeus answered. But that's the kind of man that I told you Tydeus was. And you are definitely worse at war. Though you are somewhat better at the assembly. And so Diomedes, he was just ashamed at the shameful words that the king Agamemnon had said to him and didn't say anything, but the son of famous Capaneus, he said, sorry, son of Atreus, how are you going to lie about something that you know so clearly? Don't you know that we boast to be much better than our fathers? Don't you know that we actually sacked Thebes, even though we had fewer men and it had bigger walls? Yeah, that's right. Because we had Zeus as a helper and we trusted in the gods. Our fathers, they just destroyed themselves through their own arrogance, so don't even try to hold them in the same honor as you hold us. That's what he said. But Diomedes turned to him and said, "Ta-ta, be quiet, listen to my word. Look, I don't blame Agamemnon, the son of Atreus, for going all over the place trying to rouse up the Achaeans with their very nice shin guards so that they can fight the Trojans. You know that it will be a great glory, a kudos to Agamemnon if they sack holy Ilion and beat down the Trojans. But if the Achaeans are the ones that are beaten down, well, then it would be a great grief to Agamemnon. So come on. All we have to worry about now is remembering our own furious courage." And with that, Diomedes jumped down off his chariot with all of his armor, and it clattered around him, making such a noise that even a brave man would have been scared. And now, it was like waves on the sea. Waves on the sea coming into shore. Waves that come all the way out from sea when the west wind pushes them, and they build, so that they're crashing onto the seashore, and each wave breaks and spits out the salt foam. That's how now phalanx after phalanx, one after another of the Danaans came on. And they each followed their leaders, and they went in silence. It was as though you wouldn't even know that they had voices in their chests. They went so quietly because they were scared of their leaders. But their intricate armor, it shone as they went forward in their ranks. But the Trojans, they were like 10,000 sheep. 10,000 sheep lined up all along a rich man's farm because he's got 10,000 sheep. And they're bleating incessantly because their lambs are somewhere else as they stand in line waiting to get milked. And they hear their lambs bleat, and they bleat in response, and it goes on like this. This is the kind of crazy cry that comes up from the wide army of the Trojans. Remember, they're not just one group. They don't all speak the same language. They speak many languages. They come from many lands. And Ares drives them. And the gray-eyed goddess Athena drives them. And the god Terror, and the god Fear, and the god Conflict. Conflict. She is the sister and the companion of man-slaughtering Ares, and she starts off just a little thing, doesn't she? Just a little thing, Conflict. But then she grows so large as she walks upon the earth that soon her head hits the heavens. And she spreads strife on both sides and adds to all men's sorrow. So now the two sides are coming together. An ox-hide shield hits on ox-hide shield, and spear clashes with spear. And the embossed shields hit on the embossed shield as the men who are wearing beautiful breastplates rage against one another, trying to strike. Oh my God! It's like when there are two rivers that are all the way up in the mountains, and they flow down, swollen with winter rains, and they come crashing down, hit each other into a gorge. That's the kind of sound of the din and the screams of the men being killed, and the victory shouts of the men killing, and the ground ran with blood. That's what the war work looks like. But then Antilochus is the first to get his man. He throws his spear at, well, it's Echepolus, who is an excellent man. He always fought in the front lines of the Trojans, and now the spear hits him right at the horn of the helmet, right in his forehead, and it pierces the skull, and darkness covers his eyes, and he falls, toppling like a tower into the hateful battle. And right away it's Lephenor who is the leader of the great-hearted Abantes, the son of Chalcodon. He grabs the corpse of Echepolus and starts dragging it so that he can strip it. But that's a short-lived intention, because as he's going, his shield raises up just slightly, exposing his ribs. And that's when he gets shot by some other guy who I can't remember right now. What's his name, Alex?
Agenor.
Ah, great-hearted Agenor! Gets him with the sturdy bronze right in the ribs, and so he falls, dropping the corpse. And it's here where the great work of war begins between the Trojans and the Achaeans. Now they throw each other at like wolves, and one man after another cuts the other man down, one. But now it's Ajax, Telamonian Ajax, the big one. He strikes Simoeisius. He was a young man. He was just coming into bloom. He was the son of Anthemion. His mother had given birth to him up on the folds of Mount Ida. She had gone up there to look at the flocks of her parents, and she actually went into labor right on the banks of the Simois River. That's why he got his name. Simoeisius. He was short-lived because Ajax struck him right on the right side of his chest with a bronze spear so that it went out his shoulder, and he fell. He fell like a poplar falls. A poplar that grows up in the mountains on a smooth plain, and it grows tall with many, many branches at the top, and then a man who's a chariot maker, he comes and he cuts down the tree and gets those branches and curves them into wheels and sets those out to dry along the river bank. That's how Ajax now laid out Simoeisius. And it's Antiphus from the Trojans. He tries to hit Ajax, but he misses. But it doesn't go in vain because he hits Lucas, who is the excellent companion of Odysseus. It hits him right in the groin as he's trying to grab the corpse. So the corpse falls out of his hand, and then he falls on top of it. And finally, Odysseus. Odysseus is so angry seeing his companion fall that he starts to rage along the front lines of the Trojans, getting all up in their grills, threatening them. And the Trojan front lines are retreating as he aims, but finally he throws, and his throw is not in vain. It hits the bastard son of Priam, Democoon, whose men had followed him from Abydos with their fast horses, and it hits Democoon right in the temple, and it goes all the way through his forehead and comes out the other side, so that darkness covers his eyes, and he falls like a thud, and his armor clatters all around him as the life leaves his body. So now, Hector, shining Hector, and all the front lines of the Trojans, they are retreating. And the Achaeans, they let out a great shout. Yeah! And they collect their corpses and they press on. End of week 5. Alison, Darcy is this week's. And Alex Martalogu is my audience. And Ahmed, the party fan. And Sam singing. And all next week, it's Alexis Diamond who's directing.